Welcome back. How we doing? Oh, it's good to see you. You guys look real nice tonight. I should have dressed up. What's going on? Happy, what's today? I don't know what today is, but hit the like button. It's good to be back. Welcome back to the combat footage show. I don't know. That's probably the front runner for me. But we're going to cover more than just combat footage tonight. We're going to cover all kinds of amazing stuff. So we are primarily combat footage, but every so often, it might be time for us to talk a little bit about propaganda. Maybe break down some propaganda for you. But we'll get to that when we get to it. I also am going to have an announcement here in just a minute about a very special guest we're going to have on Wednesday's stream. It's good to see you. But please hit the like button. Drop in the chat. Let me know where you guys are chiming in from. That's always awesome to see. I mean, especially we've got folks from inside Ukraine joining the stream. We've had folks definitely from Russia in the stream. But no matter where it is you are, let me know. Where you at? What's going on? It's Monday. Oh, it is Monday. Good call. Yeah. From Prague, Sweden, San Antonio. Here we go. It's moving quick. South Florida, what's going on? Syracuse, Western Australia, East Michigan. Oh my goodness. Virginia, the Commonwealth. What's up? I see you. Georgia, Denmark. Come on, keep it going. All right. Maryland, I see you guys. So let's talk a little bit about Wednesday's stream. First of all, thanks for letting me be a little bit late. I tweeted about why I was going to be late in a series of tweets today. Use Twitter for what it's worth. But let's talk about a special guest that we're going to have coming on the stream on Wednesday. Over the last couple days or so, I've been in contact and discussing privately with Cossack Gundy, Aiden Aslan. For those that aren't familiar with Aiden is Ukraine military, was captured by Russia shortly following, technically during the siege of Mariupol. He'll be joining us on Wednesday to talk about his captivity, to talk about some of the things that he's got going on, and just help continue to try and give you guys a bit of perspective from people that are actually in Ukraine. He is a British national, British citizen. And he is back in the UK. It's about as far into his location as I'm willing to go. But I'm really excited about that because I've got a lot of questions, as I'm sure you guys all do, and I'll be firing up the Q&A section. You'll be able to field or bounce questions off of him directly. Looking forward to it, and I'm happy to kind of take the stream in a new direction. I would say, because we have had guests on before, but it's been a long time. We had Civdiv on last week. And we're going to be always looking for other opportunities. Now, I'm also in contact with another Foreign Legion fighter who is just an absolute badass he is the one warrior out of 100, as far as I'm concerned. Those are Josh's words, and I tend to agree with him on that. We're lining that one up as well for probably late December, but we'll have more about that around that stream. Looking forward to it. How we doing? Little green fucker. Oh, yeah. Technical term. Got it. Watch it from Mars. That's kind of dope. Do you know where Canada is? No. What's a Canada? Let's talk. Let's kick the stream off tonight. We're gonna be talking about Defense Minister Shoigu right out of the gate here. At some point in time, although on the 18th it was announced, on December 18th, the Russian Ministry of Defense announced that Russian Defense Minister Sergey Shoigu made a trip to the Southern Military District to visit the front line of troops in Ukraine. We're going to watch a video, and we're going to talk about it. Coming up for you guys now. Now, there's only really one section of this. We'll talk about what this means, why I'm showing it to you here in a moment. There's only one section of this I want to focus on initially, and that's this one. So that's a lot of greenery, like a lot, and totally not what Ukraine looks like right now. But it looks like it's B-roll footage that they've added to it. A lot of people are keying in on this, saying, "Oh, he was never there," because there's far too much greenery. This is what I would call B-roll footage. Because as you look at him, getting off the chopper, the situation looks much more like reality on the ground. That is, you're still able to color things. But here is what ISW posits on this one. So ISW states specifically in last night's analysis that Shoigu's visit, which was a focus on sustainment and medical operations, he received briefings from other military leadership in Ukraine, Russian military leadership in Ukraine, relative to logistics and medical work, is part of an effort to show that the military leadership is fixing the Russian military's devastating failures. Essentially, what they're getting at is this was posted to show that the senior-most military members, this was released by the Ministry of Defense, was to show that senior military members are taking control. There has been a lot of discussion in Russian mill-blogger space. If you guys want the direct links and the Telegram accounts for that, just head over to Institute for the Study of War, understandingwar.org. They link to all this stuff. So you want to call me out for sources, they list all of them. Go check that out. It's at the bottom of the page. But there are a lot of mill bloggers, and the lines between Russian mill bloggers and the Russian state media are very blurred in quite a few instances, complaining about follies for Russia. And we're going to talk about one of those follies coming up here in just a second. We're going to look at two sides of the propaganda coin. This side being something with more overarching desired effects, or the intent or desire of this would be to show that Russian military leadership is in control and they are taking or fixing the challenges that they've had. The next one we're going to watch is just in an entirely different realm of propaganda. All right, and then we're going to break this down. We're going to play a little game that we used to play in propaganda school. Sorry. Here you go. Check this out, guys. You're going to love it. I promise.
Алиночка, можно тебя на минуточку? Видишь ли, я, конечно, сильно извиняюсь, но у нас опять задержали зарплату. На тебя вся надежда.
На, забирай.
Спасибо, родная. Ты же знаешь, я как только так...
Ну ты так точно никогда не накопишь. Да, знаю. Папе тяжело сейчас. Он ветеран боевых действий. Чуть старше нас был, когда попал в самое пекло. Получил контузию, а затем и награды. Он был одним из лучших наводчиков. Их танк как-то подбили, а он с товарищами не оставил машину. Они прикрывали выезд раненых, рисковали собой. Папа много раз рассказывал. А сейчас ему тяжело. Он пашет на заводе, а там постоянные задержки. А он все никак не может сходить да разобраться с этим начальством. Даже с мамой из-за этого недавно поругались.
Да, понимаю. Мой папа тоже ветеран, никак не мог привыкнуть к жизни. Но потом ушел добровольцем, сказал, не может тут сидеть, пока наши ребята там. Ну, мы, конечно, страшно переживаем, но он пишет нам, постоянно звонит, помогает. Скоро приедет.
Сегодня в Новоуральск с территории, где проходит специальная военная операция, вернулись военнослужащие.
Okie dokie. So let's have a talk for a second. According to Russian propaganda, you can go and fight in Ukraine so that you can buy your daughter an iPhone. Let's break this down for you. We're going to talk about target audience. We're going to talk about desired effect, and we're going to talk about some of the themes that we see in this. And we're going to go through each section of this video. I was going to do an edited version of this, and I actually tried doing it earlier today, but I was all hopped up on pre-workout, and it just did not go well. So I figured, you know, f it, we'll do it live. So let's start right out of the gate. This Russian daughter is saving for an iPhone. Soon I'll have saved enough for a new iPhone. Dad rolls in and says, essentially, I'm really sorry, but at work they haven't paid our wages again, right? So this is a theme. And what we're looking at here, which is totally not the direction that my brain went initially, what we're looking at here is ultimately a jab at sanctions. My brain went to this and said, they're actually admitting that they're not paying their workforce, but that's the underlying theme here is jabbing at sanctions. Now, once she provides that, you know, showing that her money goes to the greater good, we then get a better understanding of what our target audience is for this. So our target audience are military-aged veterans, I should say middle-aged veterans and fathers. And the reason that I say that is both of these women note very specifically that the girl on the right, her dad is the one that just is a veteran himself, was a tanker of some kind, a gunner, very well decorated, also was heroic. So it is instilling heroism in its target audience. Again, those, military, those middle-aged veterans, which we also know conscription was supposed to focus on. The girl on the left here, her dad was a veteran, and we begin to get an understanding of what the desired effect of this propaganda would be, which is ultimately that the target audience, a la veterans, sign up for volunteer service in Ukraine. So we now understand what our desired effect is, and we understand who the target audience for this was. At a bare minimum, we can get measures of performance and measures of effectiveness from this observable. An observable is just one element that you place into the environment to hopefully achieve an overarching desired effect. Well, let's talk about some of the themes. The very first theme, of course, is do it for your family, right? The father's listening along to the conversation, thinking to himself, this might be an opportunity for me to help my daughter get an iPhone. I just have to go to Ukraine and fight Ukrainians to get her an iPhone. But the next theme that we have is you'll be safe. Now, an interesting one that I came to here is this part. So let's go back to full screen here and watch through this part.
Ребята там. Ну, мы, конечно, страшно переживаем, но он пишет нам, постоянно звонит, помогает. Скоро приедет.
You'll be safe, right? There are not concerns to your safety. He constantly writes to us and rings us. You'll have contact with your family. You'll be celebrated. That's the next one. You'll come back a hero. First of all, they are already tugging on that heartstring of, heroism by saying my father was, a hero. He's well celebrated. They didn't leave their tank. In fact, they defended it, at all costs. But you'll be celebrated is an interesting one. Oh, let's talk about this for a moment. This is speaking specifically to the time frame it's expected you'll be gone. So they're reminding you that it's only 6 months, and it's going to be a quick 6 months because we only have a 30-second ad here, or not even a 30-second. We only have like a 2-second spot in here. So it's a quick 6 months later, and you'll just be back. We're getting to the end. Don't worry. You'll be celebrated on your return. This is another theme. You'll be hero. All these totally not paid actors standing around, waving Russian flags as this, 1960s bus rolls up to drop the volunteers off. The last one is you'll be financially secure. The financial security is ultimately having the opportunity to provide the iPhone. Now, what the video, we actually have no idea how he acquired that iPhone, whether he purchased it or looted it from a Ukrainian electronics store. When I sent this over to the guys this morning, I didn't expect Will to post it to the page. I was actually just noting it for discussion later tonight. And when I read Will's analysis on the website, I think I peed a little. Here, check it out. He makes the decision to rejoin the military a few months later, is welcomed home as a hero by a Victory Day parade. He then bestows upon his daughter the smartphone she greatly desired. The video didn't make it clear if he bought the phone or if he looted it from a Ukrainian electronics store. Oh, man. So that I wanted to take you guys on a rundown of, Russian propaganda, its themes, its target audience, and its desired effect. Now, what I was going to do is have a fun little game where we try and pull out the different, propaganda themes, thematic narratives, things along those lines. But that would have taken us quite some time. They were caught looting them in video footage in Ukraine. Yeah, that's kind of the joke. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But it's also really bad. Like, that's really bad. And I'm sure there has been a comment here or there. Well, the United States does propaganda too. Well, yeah, but it's better than that because I did it. That was horrible. I think somebody in the chat said the comment, this is worse than an episode of 90210, and that hit me right in the 90s. All right, let's move on though. Hope you took out. What's to say that's propaganda? What? What do you mean? What do you mean what's to say it's propaganda? It's literally an ad for...
Никогда не накопишь.
Да, знаю. Папе тяжело сейчас.
This is literally an ad.
Он ветеран боевых действий.
You think this happened? Like, this is just hidden camera footage in somebody's house? And this is a conversation that's happening?
Он был одним из лучших наводчиков. Их танк как-то подбили, а он с товарищами... Они прикрывали выезд раненых. Рисковали собой.
Okay, all right, no, I can't, stop. No, stop, I just can't. That's not spicy, that's surprised, concerned, Ronnie. I wouldn't even say that's spicy. Bots debated, yeah, a little bit on that one. The problem is you never really know whether it's an actual paid Russian troll that happens that's been proven. Troll farms are a thing, or if it's quite honestly somebody that has just kind of fallen down that rabbit hole of being pulled from off the middle of the fence to one side or the other. It's an actual problem. And that guy, I don't know. But I thought that one would be interesting because my first thoughts when watching this were it's overly apparent what it's trying to do here. When you look at it at a macro level, though, ultimately what it just made the argument of doing is going to fight in Ukraine so that you can buy an iPhone. Like, that's rough. That is a bad observable. That being said, what you have to also remember is that the Russian population, Russian citizens, and I wouldn't say in general or in total, Russia is very controlling of the information space inside of Russia. We've seen, in fact, it wasn't that bad. There was a history teacher that did an interview with someone that talked about how, America has something like 85 genders, that America, has legalized sodomy, very extremist takes on the current situation in America, which, again, like I said, the most effective propaganda is rooted in truth. some level of truth being aligned against the themes and narratives you're hoping to use to achieve a desired effect is only going to make it that much more successful. But by and large, it's a la Chinese Great Firewall. Very, very controlled. Let's move on. No iPhone for you. I guess if you just loot it while you're in Ukraine. We're going to be starting off in the east tonight. We've got quite a bit of footage coming out of Bakhmut. We're going to see some really amazing footage from Bakhmut here in just a minute. We're going to start in Volodymyrivka in Donetsk with Russian armor getting just kind of absolutely hammered. That video is coming up for you guys now. The sound's not providing any value. What you're actually looking at is BM-21 Grad strikes in Volodymyrivka, which is in Donetsk. Yeah, Blue Ridge, thanks for helping out. We cover both sides. Just because you didn't show up on time because you were watching My Little Pony doesn't necessarily mean that we didn't. Sounds so real. Really real. Definitely real. Like, we're literally looking at a video where I state that Ukraine has overlaid fake explosion sounds. I don't know what I can do for you. How can I help you? Let's move on to the next one. Oh, weird. Look at this video we're about to watch. Depends on really how you look at this. I would consider this to be somewhat not safe for work. What you're going to see is a Ukrainian helicopter being shot down somewhere near, Pervomaisk in Donetsk. Once again, we're still in the east at the moment. We'll be shifting into Bakhmut here in just a moment. Some support coming across, guys, and thank you very much for it. Torque, thanks for the 5. Russia must have interesting people if an iPhone, $100 and horror gets people to join the Russian military. Well, again, they're using very specific narratives with a very well-defined target audience there. Regardless of how well put together a observable like that is, if it hits the right, if it tugs on the right heartstrings, it will work. Lord's Brewing Company, thanks for the 245. Ronnie's full of it. Yeah, I'm full of cheeseburgers, man. I got a Blackstone griddle for Christmas, and thanks for reminding me. That's why I was a little late. Is I was cooking dinner for Mom. She visited today. Today would have been my dad's birthday. So she came by and visited. But yeah, full of cheeseburgers, definitely. I made smash burgers on it. It was really good. My dad, tinglies are all fired up. I love to cook outdoors. Let's move on. We're going to take a look at Marinka. This isn't actually somewhere that we've talked about very much. So what I want to do is I want to pull it up on the ISW map. Just give you a bit of perspective on where exactly that is. Coming up for you guys here in just a minute. Once I can figure out how to use my stuff. All right. Still in the east, though. Full screen. And then let's get rid of my address bar. So this is Marinka. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that appropriately. Very, very heavily contested area. And you guys are going to see a bird's eye view of what looks like it used to be a well-populated and pleasant place to be. Keep peeling out here. It's I would say that's south by southwest of Bakhmut, where we're headed to just after this video. Video is coming up for you here in just a second. And you'll see the level of just destruction that has destroyed these towns in Ukraine. I was joking with you, Ronnie. And also, what do you think about the Mexican cartels fighting like a stone's throw away? Yeah, so Nuevo Laredo, we've covered those each time they've released a new video. We covered the ambush, the cartels trying to free their, I don't know, El Jefe or whatever it is. Definitely an issue that needs to be addressed and talked about and discussed and figured out. You could spit and end up having that land right where cartels are literally ambushing the Mexican army. Laredo, Texas is right across the Rio Grande. I mean, look at this, though. This is, again, Marinka. And it's essentially in a constant state of shelling. But Ukraine is still holding, somehow. Fields near Bakhmut are actually covered in Russian corpses. Interesting. Thanks, RC. All right, let's bring that back up. We're going to be shifting into Bakhmut here. And, you know, as we've talked about quite a bit, Bakhmut, really the center right now of Russia's offensive from the east. This very first one's going to be a drone's eye view to help you see some of the damage destruction, and it also puts it a little bit into perspective, right? Bakhmut all over the media right now, all over our discussions over the last couple of days. We just saw the video. There's a reason I played the one of Marinka. Compare that with this. Now, the audio that you're hearing isn't recorded by the drone. The drone itself doesn't record audio. The audio is recorded by the operator. All right, we've got another one, but before we get to there, I want to go back to the campaign map and point out a very specific area where Russia is focusing its primary efforts on the assault for Bakhmut. We're going to scroll way down in here. And full screen. There we go. Nice. We did it. So Russia has been working on a very, very right up the gut central assault. You know, you see this little dong sticking out here. We're going to see some footage from right in here. This is that meat grinder that I've talked about before and so much. There have been, quite a few advances from Ukraine, taking small areas here and there, but it's a game of inches right now in Bakhmut. Let's take a look at some heavy fighting from a bird's eye perspective. Once again, another drone right over that area. Video is coming up for you guys right now. It's about 3 minutes long, but we're going to watch all of it. I don't know. We'll see what I can do about the audio. We might have some copywritten audio here. Is that 2 inches? Not that long. No, but I consider it a precision strike with 2. I don't have a translation of the text at the bottom, though. You can see impacts all around this area here. You can see vehicles moving. There's a mounted weapon system of some kind that's firing on that vehicle. Gunslinger, thanks for the 762. Keep your powder dry, Ronnie. Thanks again, and Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Gunslinger, and thanks for the 762. I'm going to kill some of this music, turn on our own. And I guess this is what liberation looks like. The utter destruction of an entire town. Weird. Not bad. The Ukrainian vehicles, it looks like? I have no idea. Yeah, which pixel tells you that it's Ukrainian vehicles. Extremely difficult to tell. Thanks, Ronnie. I'm going to go tell my wife that 2 inches is a precision strike. I'm here for you. All right, coming back up. Coming back up. There's some pretty non-essential vitamin kind of comments coming across on that one, but we'll let it go. Don't feed the wildlife, guys. Reed, thank you very much for the 29 months. Wow. Thanks for that. Ryan, thank you for the 10 months. Bruce for 10 months. Midwest, thanks for the 6 months. New Knees, thank you for the 6 months. Torek, thanks again for the 5. Ronnie, when did we get to time travel to World War II? And why are only modern drones being used to explore these buildings? Look like the 8th Corps came by. I mean, correlations have been drawn here to World War II, to the Somme, right? And it's, you have to think, we're seeing trench warfare with modern precision weapon systems being used. Imagine that, right? Trench warfare, fixing troops in place, find, fix, finish. Troops are fixed in place in trenches. And we are now able to fire munitions that have 4-meter CEPs. When I say meat grinder, I mean that's what that is, right? That is horrific. And that ultimately, not to plug, our own mission, that hopefully is what we help people to understand by seeing this footage. We try to help people come to the conclusion that war is just fucking terrible. Excuse my language. I'm not supposed to say bad words. I'm a potty mouth. The Army spent a lot of time and money teaching me to say bad words. But if there's one thing that everybody should come away from watching all of the footage that we have, it's that hopefully you have a better understanding of the reality of war. I'm not trying to be dramatic in this, but that is really what we hope out of all this. Now there's a careful balance though, because what you can end up doing, which is already happening, is you can normalize war. You can normalize the footage, normalize human suffering by watching it over and over and over again. And that's always what the balance is for us. Is this something that provides important context, important value, that helps people understand the situation? Or are we just showing people dead bodies for shock value? There are plenty of channels out there that will post some of the stuff that we refuse to, just for the simple purpose of the shock value. It does nothing to help you understand war. It doesn't. It's just gore porn. Let's move on. I watched the footage to see how my tax dollars are being spent. Mike, I would posit that any equipment that's been provided was paid for by your dad's tax dollars, because this stuff is off of a shelf under most circumstances. There is still Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, but the majority of what's been provided to Ukraine from a military perspective, we're not talking about humanitarian aid programs or any funds that have been provided for things other than equipment. But from a military equipment perspective, this is stuff under presidential drawdown that is sitting on a shelf. It is. It's not doing anything, and it would be better served being used in the theater that it was designed for, to protect a sovereign nation. Let's move on. We're going to see some footage from, Opitny, which is near Bakhmut. And what you're going to see here is the Sheikh Mansour Battalion. If you're not familiar with the Sheikh Mansour Battalion, I'll give you what to Google, and you can go and watch a ton of footage from these folks fighting on behalf of Ukraine.
Try.
Why is it zoomed in? Have no idea. We didn't do it. Now, for those wondering about the Sheikh Mansour Battalion, I know I didn't give you a lot of information. They're Chechens fighting on behalf of Ukraine. There's a whole lot of information and data out there about them. They're very, very open. Founded way back in 2014.
Давай, я помогу.
Or rifle here. I wasn't paying attention at that point, but the last rifle I saw was an AK-74. Alright, coming back up. I see like quite a bit of outrage about the tax dollars comment. You know, even if it is your tax dollars, they're going to defend Ukraine's people from an invasion from Russia. You know, you're whatever you're into, you know, I don't personally have a whole lot of concern. What's up, baby? What do you need? Anyway, I don't personally have a whole lot of an issue with that. I fly one flag on my front porch. I don't fly any other flag but my nation's flag. But quite simply, if the summation of, and I haven't done the math on this, somebody's going to math check me and it's going to be an absolute, it's going to be a horror. It's going to end up clipped somewhere or something. But what does it amount to? 20 bucks a person? Something like that? I don't know. Based on 148 million tax-paying Americans. Somebody do the math on that for me. Help me out here with this very fundamental equation. If we have provided weapons, right? I'm speaking specifically weapons. It's somewhere just under $25 billion worth of weapons. So take $25 billion and divide that by 148 million and tell me what you come up with. I'll wait. Way more? No, Google it. How many tax-paying Americans are there in the United States? It's like 148 million, something like that. Anyway, let's move on. I'll Google it. We're doing it live. First, let's check total tax-paying Americans. Total about 59.9% of U.S. households paid. Total taxpayers in the U.S. That'll be a better one. Yeah. Okay. 148,245,929. So we're speaking specifically to military equipment, right? There's been about 25 million provided, or 25 billion, excuse me. We can get that official number from the DoD fact sheet. Let's go there. So let's go back to Google, and we'll go to DoD releases. Pull up the DoD releases. and we'll find the most recently awarded arms package to Ukraine, which should have been $275 million. $275 million worth of equipment provided to Ukraine because this was presidential drawdown. Now, according to the fact sheet, it's been $22.1 billion in security assistance to Ukraine. $22.1 billion. Okay? So let's do a math equation here. Let's open up our calculator. And we'll do, this is overly simplified because it also assumes that every taxpayer in the United States pays the same amount, which is absolutely not the case. Stand by. Bear with me. So we'll do 22,900,000,000 divided by, and we'll make it 149 million. 153 bucks. $153. If every American paid the same amount in taxes. Okay. Now, that's also assuming that all of those sources that I used were accurate. Right? It is. Let's move on. The very next one we're going to watch is actually a little bit of a controversial one on Ukraine's behalf. A little bit. We'll watch it first, and then we'll talk about what it is.
Український сучасний. Ну, точно арт.
So what you guys are seeing here is believed to be the M971. Which is 120 millimeter mortar system. Now, when I say controversial, it's Ukraine using it. Nobody knows how they got it. It's an Israeli system. What makes it a little bit controversial is the sub-munitions it uses. From a mortar perspective, that's actually kind of novel. It's got 24 M87 anti-tank and anti-personnel sub-munitions. Now, what that means is that those 24 sub-munitions have shape charges inside of them from an anti-tank perspective. But they also have fragmentation from an anti-personnel perspective, and there are 24 of them that typically burst in a ring around it. Again, these are Israeli-made. The problem with the M87 submunition is it doesn't have a self-destruct feature. So if for some reason one of these submunitions ends up hitting the ground, it's not going and chooses not to detonate or explode. There's a potential that you could have a leftover hazard from that. Checking in on the chat here. I was in an Abrams M1A2, just checking in and hanging out with you guys for a second. I know we're kind of going off the deep end talking about taxes and things, which is oversimplified, and I am not a economics expert, nor am I a tax expert. Detroit looks like Detroit. You must be looking at earlier in the stream. All right, let's move on. So this footage we've technically already watched, but this is updated footage. The last time we watched this firefight, we had about 3 minutes worth of footage. This version of it, we have an additional 2 minutes or so, 2 minutes plus of footage. And it's some of the highest quality footage we've seen coming out of there. We're actually able to run this at 1080p, which isn't always the case. Here you go. Will you do my taxes? Trust me, bro. You don't want me to do that. Still trying to figure out my own. Funker's giving out $150 gift cards because that's nothing, right? Let's put words in my mouth. That's dope. How long before war is live streamed? I would say that it's live streamed now. We watch a live firefight happen at a nuclear facility. Blueberry, Ronnie, do you hate me? No, not even in the slightest.
Hey, over there! Hey! What? Let's go, let's...
Already saw this one? Yeah, I covered why we're watching it again a moment ago.
Hey! Hey! 11 o'clock! 11 o'clock! Ambulance! Hey! 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 Hey, let's go! Let's fuck out! Let's fuck out! They're over there! They're over there! Magazine! Keep going! Keep going! Fuck out! Fuck out! Go!
That was not Ukrainian, you're absolutely right. They're International Legion.
Good. They're over there! 11 o'clock!
Haven't we watched a fight here previously? Yeah, I covered down on why we're watching this one again. There's additional footage here than we watched last time.
Mate, say, you see where Anon is? Ah, you bastard. Straight in, like, over there, but there's bushes, mate. You ain't gonna be able to do it.
Bo. No worries, Jeffrey.
Hey, Greg! Hey, come on! Who's that there? You're gonna get back.
Torek, thank you for the 5. Ronnie went over my $25 super chat budget already. Lots of love. Thanks very much for it. Enjoy peppering you and chat with my rambling mess of words. Can't wait for Wednesday. Wednesday's going to be an interesting one. Absolutely. Torek, thanks for the 5 before that. When the U.S. gives security responsibility to Russia, Iran, and terrorist states, of course, Israel's going to be forced to work with evil empires. I'm not sure what that's, alluding to there. I think that's going back to the M971 video we watched of the M87 submunitions. Those we were watching Ukraine use those. Again, what makes that dangerous is the M87 submunition doesn't have a self-destruct feature like the M85 does. I was originally with the understanding that the M85 versus the M87 submunition is nothing more than a fuse adapted to a mortar. But if I did my research correctly, which there's no saying I did, the M87 does not have a self-destruct feature. What's happening Wednesday? Yeah, let's talk about it. So Wednesday, in an effort to provide as much context and value in our understanding of what's happening in Ukraine or what has happened in Ukraine, we'll be having Cossack Gundy on, Aiden Aslan. Aiden was captured and surrendered and taken captive at the end of the siege of Mariupol. He was held as a POW for quite some time by Russia. Was eventually released. We will have him on live at some point. I have plenty of questions and discussion topics that we intend to talk about. I had a video chat with him yesterday. Yeah, yesterday was Sunday, right? I had a video chat with him yesterday. Oh, it was a really good conversation. First time meeting him and just picking his brain about a couple things. But we're gonna have him here live Wednesday, and the stream should start at normal time. All right, let's move on. So that's it for the Bakhmut footage that we have. Let me check the homepage to see if any more has been posted. This one might be interesting. Give me a second. This was posted after I prepped today. We will cover this one. That's actually a really interesting video. We will cover that one. But that'll be in our unknown area footage. We're going to shift to the south now to footage from Kinburn. So first, let's open up the campaign map. I'll show you guys where Kinburn is. We've talked about Kinburn before. We're going to come all the way out here. So we were just a moment ago near Bakhmut. We're going to go down along the forward line, down along the Flat, to the Kinburn Peninsula. Here. Now, I've seen a lot of, reports and things, and I've covered this before, discussing the Kinburn Spit. Spit is this small section of land on the outside here, little pointy area of land. But Ukraine has launched an offensive here before, and whether, I don't think you can argue that it wasn't very effective. They don't have a foothold on Kinburn at all. But the video we're about to watch is from Kinburn. And we're also going to be bringing you new material from Lincoln Borscht.
Є розрив.
Там якраз де готов, хати.
This is what I want to go back and find. Look at the ratio here of, very suspect looking munition to a drone. Like that is a big ass munition being carried by a very small drone. In a relative sense, of course, you gotta take weight factor, girth of the munition. Let's move on. Big boy. All right, we're getting into our unknown location footage here. Again, that's all I had for the south, relative NSTR for anything else. The very first one that I wanted to watch, I haven't seen yet. I have not screened this, But the video that we're about to see is view of a Ukrainian helicopter crashing, but it's a pilot's view. This one looks like it could be interesting. Check this out. Flexing him, thanks very much for that. Try drip, thanks very much. Let's try and catch that crash again. All right, bringing it back up. I don't have a location for that. We'll check the write-up really quick for it. And we actually watched this other view the other night, but we can watch this as well. Not trying to argue, Ronnie, just saying a lot has not been given to us veterans. Yeah, but I can understand what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. There is a lot more that can be done to support, U.S. veterans. There's a lot more that can be done to support the border, to support, kind of the general attack on the American family structure. But I would posit and argue that it doesn't have to be one or the other. Like, we are a very capable country, and we're able to focus on many different issues at once. There's a reason for it. Unfortunately, what people look at providing aid to Ukraine as is that the provision of that aid keeps us from doing any of those other things, which is absolutely not the case. That's absolutely not the case. 100%. Not at all. We could definitely be supporting those other efforts more. We're able to. We have the capability to. On a global scale, though, right? Providing support to Ukraine as a sovereign nation that has been invaded by a country the size of Russia, with Russia doing the things that they're doing to Ukraine, it is, in my mind, a non-issue for us to be providing arms that are otherwise sitting on a shelf. That's not keeping taxpayer dollars from getting a psychiatrist for a veteran. I saw that comment. That's not doing that, right? I can understand that it's taxpayer dollars getting the equipment there, but that's not taking money away from veterans. It's not. To say that is using a jump to conclusions, Matt, in my mind, right? It's connecting two things while based in some level of common sense, don't necessarily need to be connected outside of political rhetoric. Just because a certain political party is generally supportive of providing aid to Ukraine doesn't necessarily mean that we, and I'm not speaking to you specifically anymore on this, this is in generalities, doesn't necessarily mean that we should be not supportive of that. I'm not a fan of Biden. I'm not a fan of Donald Trump either. And I'm giving you a personal perspective here. This is the things that I say are not reflective of the views of the Funker 530 team or company. This is me speaking. But it's not a one or the other. It's not that providing materials that are that we quite literally have thousands upon thousands of, javelins, NLAWs, small arms, HIMARS, 777s that are nearly phased out at this point, Humvees that are at the end of their life cycle, that are making up the bulk of these presidential drawdown packages. They're not getting used. They're at the end of their life. What are we going to do with them? Destroy them? There's an entire sovereign nation that could use them to defend themselves. It just doesn't make sense, right? The Humvee is the best example in my mind. The Humvee was designed for use in Eastern Europe. Like fundamentally, that's what it was created for, was this theater of war. It is on its way out. It's at the end of its life cycle. It's been replaced. What else is it doing? Nothing. Nothing at all. This is not you can either support Russia or you can support Ukraine. Ukraine didn't invade Russia. And even if you want to make the argument that NATO started this and egged Russia on, Russia still invaded a sovereign nation. I have a much smaller global picture in my mind. Russia is wrong. And there are arms and munitions that are not being used, that are in fact being phased out, that otherwise are just going to get destroyed. Why not provide that stuff? Now, as you go up the precision weaponry tree, right, that's why we start to see, less provision of some of our more advanced technology, because yes, we might not have as much of that sitting on the sidelines, right? Other countries have provided the M270. We have not. We provided the HIMARS. That's my perspective on this, right? It's not got anything to do with the Russian people versus the Ukrainian people. It's quite simply that we are providing the means for Ukraine to defend itself from an invasion of a much, on paper, larger and more capable military that has invaded and really done so in quite a brutal fashion, to put it lightly. I'm going to move on. What do we have that's better than HIMARS? A lot. There's a lot that's better than HIMARS. It depends on what you're talking about, though. Like the M270, I would consider that to be a more capable system than HIMARS. Kind of two sides of a coin, though. One's tracked, one's wheeled, one's a little bit more mobile, one's more all-purpose. The M270 can fire up to 12 GMLRS. The HIMARS can fire 6. But there's benefits to each. Again, with HIMARS being wheeled, it's a little bit more capable on hardball, on pavement. The M270 is a tracked vehicle, but with 2 pods, so it has double the capacity and double the capability. But you're going to chew up, hardball. It's a little bit better for over country, though, which Ukraine is going cross country quite a bit. That's one of the ways that they took Kharkiv. Let's move on. The very next one, speaking of HIMARS and the M777's towed system, they're alive and well. They are. That is despite Russians claiming that they have destroyed all the HIMARS. Will called this a proof of life video. What you're seeing in the background is a HIMARS launch, and in the foreground is an M777A2. I want to watch that again. Coming back. The next one that I wanted to show is I haven't seen a whole lot of Gustav footage. This is my favorite Carl. There's 2 Carls in the military. One of them I don't like very much. He's kind of an idiot, gets us into trouble. The other one is the 84mm Carl Gustav. Check this out. This one's a good watch.
Это, блядь, банда Куртана. Он не отступает, запомни. Блядь. Давай.
Now, I don't know if this is true. The Gustav is one of those systems that I have never had the opportunity to shoot. But I've been told that it's an absolute beast to fire, and they actually limit the amount of times that you can fire the Gustav because of the risk to TBI. Now, I have watched via ISR a strike force raiding a compound in Afghanistan when I was doing information operations. This was one of my targets. And they had a barricaded shooter on the second level of one of their houses. And we laid into that thing with 3-4 Gustavs. It was basically the max amount that, they wanted to use. And I tell you what, it did not puncture that mud hut or whatever it was. We ultimately ended up hitting that commander's compound with a Hellfire the day later. Are you only supposed to fire 4 a week due to TBI? That's what I've been told. I just can't validate that. Can't be sure. I held a Gustav and a military fair gives you a bonus. Yeah, I'd pay. I would pay a lot of money from my wallet to get the chance to fire a Gustav. For a little bit of context on this, they were actually firing HE as well. I did see some comments about whether or not to stand or to lay down, but again, this is not a system that I'm overly familiar with. I've seen it in person. I just never even seen it in person fired. So munitions from the car look like the one hanging from the drone. Oh, the girthy one? Yeah. All right, let's move. This is an interesting one. This brings World War II tank warfare to mind. Rolling assault, a Ukrainian rolling assault following close behind armor with small arms. This one's an interesting watch. Copyrighted music, but they have it overlaid with the sounds of gunfire and such. I thought Premium got membership here. No, sir. That's for the Funker 530 app. That means that you are able to watch the videos on the app with an ad-free experience, and YouTube doesn't get any of that money. That all goes back to Funker 530. All right. Coming back up to the top. Can't wait to see it. That's going to be a good discussion. Yeah. All right. So this is actually one of the last Ukraine videos, and then we've got 3 videos. We're going to see a video from Siberia. We're going to see some video from northern Iraq, specifically between Turkey and the Kurds, and we're also going to see some Burma footage tonight at the end of our Ukraine section here. But this next one, I chose to wait for the last one. Is not too long ago we watched some footage of of an unknown Ukrainian who goes by the name Leroy Jenkins. We've got more footage of Leroy and his exploits. Copywritten music. That's a Ukrainian vehicle charging along the road, firing at Russian positions in spitting distance. Now, something important to note for those that aren't aware is I believe that to be A, it's a Humvee. I can tell you for 100% certainty that's a Humvee. But B, I believe that is a 50 on the top. And what you're seeing is tracer fire. Now, tracers under normal circumstances are a 1-to-5 ratio. So every 5 rounds you have an additional tracer. Yeah, I might be off by a round or two on that. With the 50, I do believe that that's still the case. But if that's what we're looking at, is for every 5 standard rounds, you've got a tracer. Imagine the amount of fire that's being laid in from that Humvee. That's blaster shots. So between each of those tracers, there's about 5 rounds. What the hell is that other vehicle on the left? That's a great question. Here's one of the things I can't figure out with this video. I can't tell. I'm not backing it up and moving it forward. So I can't tell if we're actually watching it pull in and go into reverse, or if we're watching it in reverse speed at times. It's a bit confusing with this vehicle on the left. This one here. So it doesn't look like that vehicle is engaging our Humvee here. In fact, it looks like it is, potentially part of the same convoy. Not 100% certain. We also have a video cut there. Now, I watched this a few times. Focus on this spot here. It's definitely the same location, just the lighting has changed. Once the video cuts, you're still able to see this impact crater. But I don't know where this vehicle ended up going at the end of the video. See, there's that impact crater again. All right, coming back up here. Is that Ukrainian armor on the left? Great question. Not entirely sure. I would assume it is. We don't see it engaging the Humvee, and in fact, we see the Humvee advancing on that BMP at one point in the video, and I feel like we would see it unask that location pretty quickly. Otherwise, Madus 50 full song with tracers. That think about that, right? You see how many tracers were flying. If there's 5 rounds between each of those tracers, wall of bullets, very big, girthy bullets as well. Maybe there'll be more footage to this vid at a later date. Yep. And when we do have updates to footage and things that we find, we go over those, right? In fact, we watched a International Legion video earlier today that we covered 2 weeks ago. But we had an additional 2 minutes of footage on the back end of that. And the first comment, of course, for obvious reasons, was we've already seen this. If I'm bringing it back up, there's a reason for it. And in fact, Josh and I couldn't figure out what the difference of the video was at first. We were like, is this the same or is it not? And we realized one video is over 5 minutes. The other one is just under 3 minutes. All right, let's jump into our non-Ukraine footage, still somewhat related to Ukraine. An oil refinery in Siberia went up in flames. And it scorched about 1,000 square meter area, and there were reports in the area of a very powerful blast when it went up. And what's interesting about this is it's owned by the Irkutsk Oil Company, and they're one of Russia's largest private oil producers. 5 people allegedly were killed. Here you go.
Хули сказали эвакуация нахуй. И мы хули пошли, ебать. И как въебало, вот только что, ебать. Двери вылетели, ёбаный рот. Двери? Вон те нахуй.
Could this have anything to do with experienced workers being drafted, leaving things with a less capable crew, which leads to accidents? I don't know. It's a great question. It's a great question. Russia's a huge company or country. Shit happens. You're absolutely right. Like, the Funker team and I have talked about this before. Russia's very big. And each time there's an accident or incident inside of Russia, one of the first things that people do is jump to, Ukraine did it. You know, look at how brazen their latest attack was. Russia's very large. So from a ratio perspective, things going to shit could happen quite a bit more. Now, what also adds to that is, generally speaking, shit just seems to go wrong in Russia more than elsewhere. When we covered the fighter jets falling out of the sky, Su-35s, Su-25s, etc., that was one of the things that I did my best to try and research. Is this happening? And we just had a F-35 incident here in the West. So I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but is this something that's happening at a higher rate in Russia than what is happening elsewhere? All right, the next one that I wanted to give you guys a little bit of perspective on is the ongoing conflict between Turkey and the Kurds. Now, this took place in an area of northern Iraq called Duhok. What you're going to see is footage of a Kurdish patrol sneaking up on a Turkish outpost and assaulting that outpost. Reportedly, can't validate any of this, 5 Turks were killed in this, and this took place late November. The irony of a hold on, time out. The irony of a question that says, is this some sort of NATO cope channel, as we show footage of a NATO country being attacked, is next level. Like, well done. Let's go back to the footage. What about my comment? I just don't feel like reading it. I have no idea what that says. All right, let's bring it back up. One of the last videos that I have for you guys here comes from Burma / Myanmar. I did an edited video on the junta that took power in Myanmar / Burma, and in that I explained the difference and when it was appropriate to use which. I just flushed it. I don't recall. But what you're going to see are anti-junta forces, which appear to just be civilians with makeshift weapons. We've seen a lot of this coming from Myanmar, engaging a government patrol near Myang. I don't know. Here, I'll show you guys the near that location. Myang.
Mày về thế nào nói à? Mày biết thế nào? Thôi yêu mày cho mày tôi gì? Đây đây. Gì?
Makeshift weapons, yes. Wait till you see it. Some of these are M4s, like that one. Where is this? This is Myanmar or Burma or Myanmar. That break action though. Got to check the flux capacitor on it. Did I see a double barrel shot? You did see a break action. Yes, sir. Oh. Is this Ukrainian or Russian? Neither. These guys are well trained. Well, you have to imagine, think about what you're looking at here, right? You're looking at basically civilians that have taken up arms against the junta that took power in 2021 in Burma. Under most circumstances, these anti-junta videos are going to be very much so rudimentary weapons, basic weapons, fighting back against the government that they disagree with being or taking power. 50 cal? That's not a 50 cal.
Yeah, shoot up.
Yeah, we'll go back and look at it here in a minute, but it looked like it could have been 762 by 51 NATO 308 or something else. Something intermediate. Definitely, just not a 50 cal. .50 cal tracers 1 and 4. Thanks for that, Matthew. Like I mentioned, I wasn't sure if it was a 1 to 5 or not. .54R. No, it wasn't a rim cartridge. We'll go back and look at it. That's what they're engaging out there in the distance. Let's see if we can find that round that he loaded here. Too fast. Slow down. We're right on it here. Maybe that is rimmed. Hold on. No, that's not rimmed. I'm going to put it on 0.25 speed. Nope. Wrong one. Oh, shit. Stand by. Ah. Enhance. Enhance. No, it's not rimmed. .30-06. Yeah, I'm thinking it is slightly larger than a 308 though. Either that or his, he like me has these small Burger King hands. I'm not certain, but. Again, I did a whole edited video that broke down the context and background to the situation in Burma, Myanmar, and we've covered that before. And there's a reason that I cover this stuff towards the end of the Ukraine stream. A lot of people have associated this stream, rightly so, to be a solely Ukraine-focused stream, and that's not what it was originally designed for. It was designed to connect with you about all the footage we have. The majority of that, for obvious reasons, is what we have that's coming out of Ukraine. But we do have stuff from around the globe. We've got, Russia fighting Ukraine with precision weapon systems and Indians and the Chinese on their border hitting each other with sticks. So we've got that footage. We've got footage from Africa. We've got footage coming out of Peru that we covered last Friday. Really just about anywhere where there's conflict, we are trying to document that footage, put it in one place so you always know where you can go to watch it. Funker530.com or the app. If you guys would like to watch that without ads, consider supporting us by getting a premium account on your Funker530 app, available on iOS and Android. Over 10,000 five-star reviews. We think it's pretty awesome. I'm out of here. I'm going to go kick back on the other stream and hang out. Think about the stream from today, have some discussions. I am probably going to play some games tonight. Just relax. You're welcome to join me. It's going to auto redirect you over there. I appreciate you being here. This coming Wednesday, we're going to have Aiden Aslan on live, where we can ask him some questions about his time in Russian captivity after the siege of Mariupol. It's going to be a really awesome discussion, and I hope you're able to join us for it. Good night. And let me check in on this support before I leave for the night. Seal, thanks very much for becoming a member. Sonny or Chris, thanks for the $2. Full W key. Get you some. Thanks for the $5. Ron, thanks for keeping it real. Thank you, sir. Xavier, thank you for the $5. When are we going to see the History Channel promo videos? Very soon. I actually surprised my mom this evening with a draft episode review, and she thought it was awesome, and that's all I can hope for. But very soon, Xavier. And Torek, thanks for all of your support as well. We read all of those. Good night and stay informed.